The Tigers look to get to 2-0 for the first time since 2013. The Tiger Football Report starts now. Welcome to another edition of the Tiger Football Report, brought to you by the Green Turtle. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And coach, the Tigers taking on NC Central for the first time in 5 years on Saturday night at Johnny Unitas Stadium. Before we get into the game, what was your reaction when you run onto the field and you see that student section absolutely packed?
Well, I was smiling from ear to ear, but more because I found out that we're doing a freshman student run onto the field. So as we finished pregame, I went over and high-fived everybody that was down on the field that was going to. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. Like, if I didn't play sports in college and I was a student and went to school, you tell me I get to run on the field before a football game like the football players do? Like that, how cool is that? Now to watch it, to see that, and it's the team I coach, but it's my alma mater, that was cool. Now come out of the locker room pregame and see a sea of gold. Oh yeah, and knowing that 90% of that's students, they made a difference in the ball game. Turn around, the home side was filled too. There's a difference in the ball game when the community comes out and supports this team. There's an energy that our guys breed off of. It's awesome, and I just hope it continues. Now,
you didn't start off quickly, but midway through the first quarter, things started to change. The next thing you know, the Tigers are up 14-0, and what you had to like about this was that every part of the team contributed. Your offense, obviously. Your defense scored points, and your punter was named the CAA Special Teams Player of the Week. So you got it from all three phases of the game on Saturday.
It was really good. Yeah, like we clearly had cleaned some things up from the week prior. We're nowhere near where we need to be, but there were strides made. I see, like everybody says between week 1 and week 2, and I'm going to say between week 1 and week 3. So that's when the biggest strides get made, and I think we're moving in the right direction. The guys see what we need to do to be successful, but we're going to have a heck of a challenge again next week.
Shane Simpson had another big game. Tom Flacco hitting receivers all over the place. It was a good offensive effort because you got a lot of people involved. Yidi Thayenrat scoring a touchdown. Adrian Feliz-Platt playing for the first time in almost 2 years. Yep. You got a lot of guys involved, and late in the game you were able to get guys who normally don't play into the ball game.
Like I said before, there's no substitute for experience, and getting these guys in the ball game in any way, shape, or form is always good for the rest of their career and therefore the rest of the program. You mentioned that we spread the ball out. Some guy says I think we threw it to 10 different guys, and we only completed 15 balls. Like we've only run like 110 plays in 2 games, which is really, really low. But we're scoring 35 points a game, in 70 points in 100 plays. That's pretty cool. So we need more plays. We need more plays, but right now we're being extremely efficient.
It's funny because when we got together to do the pregame interview, I used to rag you all the time about how long it had been since a Tiger had returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Well, it was coming on 5 years since a Tiger returned an interception for a touchdown. And you had 2 against Villanova. Hadn't had one since. Then Saturday night, Keon Pay takes one to the house. That had to make you feel good. Keon played tremendous all night long.
Obviously the best first quarter that I think he's ever played, if not the best game he's ever played. I think he had 3 or 4 pass breakups in the first quarter and a pick 6. We have 2 interceptions early in the game. One sets up a score, one is a score. Like I said to you early in the season, we're going to win some games on defense this year. These kids are locked in. We're playing hard. We had a good plan, and we played really, really hard.
Ronald Johnson, the transfer from Michigan, got his first experience this past week in a Tiger uniform. That's a big human being, first of all. But he looks like he can be someone that can really contribute.
He really can. He's a good football player. The cool part is, ask him, because he hadn't been here that long. I asked Coach Gus, like, how's he fit in the room? He goes, you would have thought he's been here his entire career. He's a great, great young man. He understands what we're doing, understands that he's part of it. He's not it, but he makes the most of his opportunities, and that's all we can ask of any of these kids.
Ricky DeBerry gets hurt in week 1. Christian Dixon steps into his place on Saturday. He had a huge game for you also.
Really did. Christian's always had the ability to be successful at this level, but staying focused for an extended period of time has always been his challenge. He's got a really passionate heart and a lot of energy, and sometimes that overtakes his brain. But we talked about this in the summer. He's going to have a hot heart and a cool mind, and he was. He played really fast, played really physical, really hard, but he was mentally locked into everything we were doing, and he too is making great strides.
You scored 14 points in the first quarter. You scored 14 points in the second quarter. You scored 14 points in the third quarter. You didn't score any in the fourth quarter, but that's okay. At what point in the game do you start thinking, maybe I need to get my starters out? Is it something that you have a number or just a feel for what's going on?
It's a balancing act. It depends on where we are in the season, who we have to play, how many plays we played the week before, what happens during the game. It's a conversation at halftime. When you're up 28-0, it's a conversation. But you have to walk that fine line between the guys getting enough plays to be able to be in good shape when they have to go 80, 90, maybe 100 plays, and still being able to do that versus wanting to protect them. So it's a balancing act.
The Tigers now will try to get to 3-0 for the first time since 2013. Tune in later this week when the coach and I talk about the matchup with the Maine Black Bears, who are ranked 7th in the nation. For the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose, I'm Spiro Morekas. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Tiger Football Report, and as always, go Tigers.